So I've decided that I will show you how to make the ultimate defense weapon against short arms, small arms, that is firearms, the Roman flagrum. Now, you may not be accustomed with the flagrum, or you may be accustomed with it. Maybe you saw it on the Jesus movie, but it doesn't matter. The fact of the matter is, you probably won't know how to make it anyway, but it's very easy to make. Okay? But before we go on, I'm going to state that what I make here, I'm going to destroy once I've done. It's a very offensive weapon when you make it with modern stuffs. It's a very, very offensive weapon. It's the thing about it is it's not a lethal weapon, but it's the most aggressive and violent non-lethal weapon there is. Beside one weapon that I know how to make and carry around, which is a special light. But I'm not going to go there. It's a modified light. So if you know how to modify particular bright lights in a particular way with a special filter, you can fuck someone's retina for life. I'm just going to say very bluntly, I've never had to use it. I've had it on me for 10 years. And I pray to God I will never have to use it. And the only time I'd ever use such a thing, the modified part with the filter, it takes a few seconds to put the filter in, is if I know my life's in danger. So if somebody poses a life threat to me, your eyesight's gone for life. It's pretty much, it's that simple. If you want to pose a risk to people's lives, well, you're just going to have to forfeit your eyesight if you come against me. It's that simple. Again, I hope that never has to happen, but that's what I carry around. And it's in my point of view, the most lethal, it's the most effective non-lethal weapon, but it's not as insidious or violent as a flagrum, which is very, very violent in the short term and can do a lot of grievous bodily damage. Well, nothing life-threatening unless you actually whip a person, as you see in the Jesus film, for X amount of time. But generally speaking, a few whips with the flagrum is not going to do nothing. But I'll explain how you should use a flagrum where you have an assailant coming against you with a short arm. It doesn't matter if it's an Uzi or a handgun, as long as it's a short arm of a lower caliber. A flagrum is generally useless against a rifle because rifle bullets are much more potent than handgun bullets, as well as shotgun bullets. So this is particularly effective when you know the person has a short arm and you've got no other means of defending yourself, and you've got a family protect or something like that. So I'm sure I've explained to you about the light thing on a previous video, that I'm not prepared to ever divulge how I do it or the secret science behind it, and I never will. It's that simple. It's my defensive weapon, and since I'm not going to show you how to make that, I'm going to show you how to make this. Again, I'm going to say that once I've done this, I'm going to destroy it. I've got no need to keep a flagrum on me, especially when I have a much more effective lethal weapon, non-lethal weapon, which I've explained, the light, which can work against 10, 20, 30 people at once within a particular perimeter. So I'm not going to ever venture into that, so that's why I'm telling you about the flagrum. And once I've finished making it, I'm pretty much going to destroy it immediately. Let me say, if you ever carry anything like that in public, you deserve all consequences for carrying such a thing in public. There is absolutely no reason you'd even need to carry a lethal knife, a knife in public, unless you've got a work reason or really, really good reason. So the point is, don't be irresponsible with this video. It is targeted for survival enthusiasts only, and to give you that education if something ever goes wrong, because that's where the world is headed. We all know that. It's not a conspiracy theory. It's fucking everywhere. Pandemics, fucking wars everywhere. You just don't know what's around the corner, and that's not a manic prep mentality. It's just common sense. So this is good knowledge for you to have in case it happens one day, but you've got no need to go out and make it at the moment. I'm going to show you how to make it quickly, and I'm going to destroy it immediately. In other words, even in my homeless, especially in my homeless predicament, society is normal. This is just my predicament, my urban survival experience. There's absolutely no reason in the world for me to have a fucking flagrant. So, interestingly, it's not illegal to do such things and keep it at home. It only becomes illegal when you use it. Well, technically, if you keep a weapon at home and you intend to use it to commit violence, I think you can be in trouble for that. I think that is indictable, but proving that's another thing. So, but the point is, if you don't have any ill intentions and you make such a weapon and keep it at home, that's legal. I don't have to destroy it, but I am going to do that anyway because it's the right thing. I'm going to stress this is a very effective and dangerous weapon, and you don't need to ever keep such a thing in a normal situation. So don't think it's cool. It's totally uncool to keep such a fucking weapon. You're an absolute wanker if you make such stuff and, you know, try to taunt or threaten anyone with it or anything like that. I really hope, you know, you cop a belting if that's what you think these videos are for. Yeah. So let's start off by saying, in a survival situation where someone else has a handgun, even though I've shown you some techniques and strategies thus far, which all work, there is the time when there's an inevitability of confrontation. So it's called confrontational inevitability. Confrontational inevitability means that confrontation is inevitable. Exactly what it says. So if somebody is in X building with a handgun coming my way and I've got a family with me and I know that eventually he's going to come where I am and he's probably going to shoot, that's confrontational inevitability, or at least assessed to be so. Something else may happen. He may hear a fucking person beeping and that gets his attention and he goes there. You don't know. But generally speaking, you can assess some situations to be of a confrontational inevitability, a high confrontational inevitability. And in doing so, the most dangerous thing you can do in such a situation is not be an active participant. You may think, hold on a second, why would I be an active participant to such a situation? Isn't that fueling the fire? Nope. You're an active participant to a confrontational inevitability, but insofar as you are opposed to the assailant or the offender in the confrontational inevitability. So your job is to neutralize the not active ingredient, but not active perpetrator either, but the active assailant or the active offender against you. Your aim is to neutralize that in such a confrontational inevitability. And you do so by having an active participant mentality. So all too often when you see on the news people being gunned down, people being shot, the biggest mistake they make when they're set upon by a gunman is not being an active participant. So it's too late because they're dead, but what they have actually been subject to whilst they were alive for those last moments was a confrontational inevitability. They were always going to be shot at and killed. But had they have, for instance, not reacted the way they did, they, believe it or not, off the bat, if it's a short arm, you've got, I think, between a 50 and 70% likelihood of not dying. So, you cut the chances of being killed, or what did kill that person, they're cut by 50 to 70% if the person immediately adopted an active participant mentality, as opposed to going like that and standing and boom, 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 quick shots. So if your instantaneous reaction once you ascertain you're being set upon by something is one of an active participant, you've immediately you cut the chances of dying by 50 to 70% because you've got so many options that you may not have been aware of. And it's not all based on a flagrant. I've already showed you many videos. But this is one very effective way if those options aren't there. You've always got to have options. So with a short arm, they can kill, absolutely, especially high-powered short arms. But they don't necessarily have to kill. That's the interesting thing. Most oftentimes when they kill, it's because the gunman got an easy shot. That's one. Two, he's unloaded the fucking clip. So, you know, bullets in amounts do damage. Bullets speak a language of their own. So whilst rapid fire is offensive in itself, numerous bullets is offensive in itself. So interestingly, if you have 3 or 4 men, you could make their handguns behave like machine gun fires if they all shot in synchronously. But that's another story for another day anyway. The point is, if you take out, just like the oxygen triangle, the fire triangle, when you take out oxygen, no fire. Take away fuel, no fire. Take away heat, no fire. If you take away from the gunman, let's call it the gunman triangle. Aim, good. He's got good aim. The other part is amount of bullets expended, and the other part is reaction of the offended party, you, the defender. Now, if you take out all 3, even if you take out 1, you've got a better chance. But if you take out all 3, his chances of doing deadly harm with a short arm gun is completely reduced. So, what I'm saying is, you can risk getting shot once or twice with a short arm, which is better than dying if it's a confrontational inevitability and you've got nowhere to run, like I've shown you in other videos, or nothing to protect your body, no barrier, steel, etc. You need to immediately adopt an active participant mentality. So, let's just say, room, door flies open, active offender, handgun. It's going to take him about 1/4 of a second at the very least, to a second at most, for him to determine where I am, where his gun is in relation to me, and pulling the trigger. But the thing you've got to adopt as the defender, is beating that reaction, or at least meeting it as in such way that he doesn't have much room to execute that firearm triangle properly. So what I would do instantaneously isn't crouch, isn't put my hands up, it would be to run at him, because it's only going to take me 0.5 of a second, even less, to get about there. And I'm here, he's there, there's gun. Okay, let's just say at worst he's fired a round. I'd be noting where the gun is too, so I'd be trying to avoid it, not get hit with my head. This is if I don't have a flagrant in one hand. Okay? Let's just say he's fired 1 round into my shoulder. Let's just say 2. I'm still alive. It's better than being hit in the chest or the head and numerous times. Okay? Because I've become an active participant in that situation, I've been hit in the shoulder twice. What do you fucking do? It's going to hurt. I've definitely got to avoid septic shock and all that shit later on. But I'm dealing with what's now, the deadly threat. It's better than dying. Okay? So, what I'm saying is, when it comes to small arms, okay, it's a different ball game when we're talking about high caliber weapons and shotguns, from close range especially. But, okay, with short arms, you've just got to meet them as fast as possible and not allow them to get that amount of bullets fired, and you've got to ensure they don't get the aim right. Okay? You may take a vital shot. That would suck. But it's much less likely if you're not standing there like a fucking stunned mullet. Okay? You've got to you've got to become an active participant whether you like it or not, no matter what your nature's like. It's not going to get, nothing else is going to get you anywhere in a confrontational inevitability. Okay, especially one where you've got no other strategies to utilize in the immediate future, right then and there. So, one interesting way to completely disarm an assailant is if you use one arm as your blocking arm. If you have something like a shield, a fry pan, something that can ricochet bullets, you can actually use that as the blocking arm. So you want, whilst you're meeting the assailant, because you've got no choice, you use something to block yourself. At worst, your arms, just so if a shot gets loose, it might hit your arm and it won't hit your brain because you got your arm there and you're side on, so it's harder to hit the heart or any vitals. But you could have a fry pan, you could have something large that's metal. But what you have in your other hand is a flagrum. Now, I haven't made it yet, but we're just going to pretend the attachment that I'm about to make is at the end. So what you would do is block with one arm, approach the person really fast, and with a good aim, you would flagrum that person's gun arm. And the flagrum, if properly made, has a 95% chance of sticking to that person's arm. So, and when you rip it off, what you essentially do, when it hits their hands and arms, is take about 5 to 10% of the flesh and meat of their hand off. A properly made flagrum will do that, and their gun will release. They're not going to hold the gun solid when a flagrum has smashed their nerves, gone into their skin. A properly made flagrum, it could even rip a bone off. I'm serious. Once it gets in there, a properly made flagrum, fuck, be dead. Okay, so the flagrum hits their hand. Okay, that gun's going to drop. And if the gun's dropped, threat neutralized, it's now 1-on-1. And you've got the flagrum. And the gun's dropped. You can also grab the gun. Okay, let's just say you took a shot. Let's just say you took two. Let's just say hit a thigh or hit something. Like I said before, it's better than being hit exactly where the person wants to aim at and with the amount of bullets they would use to finish you. So we see a lot of movies, and movies are very deceptive. We see a lot of movies where it's at point blank, the person's dead first shot. It doesn't happen like that in real life. When people die from gunshots in real life, it's usually because of numerous gunshots and because of fear. Generally speaking, most people don't die from small arms if they take an active participant mentality, adopt an active participant mentality. Most serious gun crimes, massacres, unfortunate massacres and all that sort of stuff, happen with high caliber rifles. That people don't use handguns for that because they know that handguns won't be effective. It's precisely why they don't use those guns. So you can use the weakness of a low caliber gun and a handgun against itself. Yeah, sure, there's fucking 45 caliber guns and Smith and Wesson specials and 357 Magnums and all that bullshit, but it's the same principle. It's not a rifle, and if they're holding a gun out like that, they're not going to get a shot off that they want if you do exactly what I've said. And look, worst case scenario, they fucking kill you. At least you tried, because that's what was going to happen anyway if you didn't do anything. So you flagrum, as I said, the person's firing hand. And once you rip the flagrum off, half their hand will come off. I'm telling you. So this is how I know. I know how to make I've known how to make a flagrum since I was a fucking kid. Don't ask why I used to make heaps of weapons as a child. I never used them not either. I just had a habit of making spears, flagrums. I used to actually make rockets. I made fucking all sorts of projectiles. I made a special gun once. It was weird. And I never used it on anyone, anything or anyone. I never took it to school. I never showed off. It's just, I had a habit of making weapons as a kid. So anyway, I don't know what the fuck that's about. I have a feeling somebody in Malta, one of our relatives or one of our ancestors, were into making firearms and shit. Oh, there you go, yeah. We got a Bellas here who own a gun shop. We're not directly related, but there you go, it's in the family. They own a fucking gun shop. They know how to make, from what I know, they know how to make, when they first came to Australia, they were making the best gunpowder for sport shooters. And they know how to fix guns better than anyone. Well, at least in Sydney. So, to make a flagrant, okay, this just happens to be something laying around. It could have been a belt, it could have been some type of elastic, it could have been a rope, but I'm using this. This is ideal. This is the perfect flex for a flagrant. The Romans would have been impressed. This would be slightly better than the Roman whip used, because this is better flex and better snatch. It's floppy, and that's what you want in it. Because if it lands like this and you pull like that, it will pull in a unique way. This is perfect, these strength bands for a flagrant. So essentially, you know what? I'm not even going to actually make it. I'm going to explain it. I'm going to make the important parts, because it's just an offensive weapon. I don't need to make it. I really don't like the idea of doing that to someone. But this is, like I said, what you do in a life situation. These situations, not homelessness as I said, that's just ridiculous. But if all society breaks down, there are violent people outside, and you've got namely a family to protect. These are the things you've got to do. So you've still got to use rope. You always got to use rope with a flagrant, at least a homemade one. So I'm only going to cut this much of it, approximately 30 centimeters. Handy Gerber knife, Gerber tool. Cut. You should light this in so it doesn't go anywhere. All you've got to do, actually, because this clips, it's even better. I can make just a bowline will do, bowline. So you know how to do a bowline. Loop. Whoops. Don't tell me how to fucking cut a bowline. I'd start crying. What kind of fucking expert do I think I am? Ugh. One sec. That's why. See, bowling under. Around, back through. Oops, still got it wrong. For fuck's sake. Then again, this is poly rope. I don't usually like doing this in poly rope, for whatever reason that is. Yeah. Fuck it, I'm just making a simple noose. This is doing my head in. I should know how to do the fucking bowline off the bat. So a simple noose is just tying an overhand knot on the line on itself. There you go, simple noose. It's a running line. So oopsie days. Oopsie daisy again. It's as simple as clip, unclip, bang. That's going nowhere, fuck. Like I said, you'd cut this end more, you'd burn it and keep it there and so forth. But that's the work, that's the flagrant end. Okay? That's the end that does the damage. This part, because it's poly and it's ideal, poly has a unique strength, untwist. So poly is strong when they're simpler fibres. When you take them apart into a yarn from their strand. So look, you've got them in that now. But then from there, you split all these at two. So that you've got like fucking, I can see about 30 here, 20. So you take them all apart. Okay? You fray it all. So it should all be frayed. It should look like that. And you might not get it right at first. And you will have to test them to see if you've got it right. But once you do, Jesus Christ. So that's all frayed. Now, what you can do with just 2 or 3 of these, and it might take a while, is get things like glass, smash, and you may have to even, rub parts of that glass against the rock so you can get a notch in it. But you'll have completely different types of shards of glass, and desirably you want them that big. You need them long enough. If they're not already sharp, you sharpen them and you get them into those. You get the desirable one with curves, and that's including putting a notch in it. And you might from this get about 20 or 30. So half of this could be that glass, and then the other half would be bent nails, and you can find nails everywhere. And like you saw me do that thing there, with the simple noose, you can tie your simple noose to the notched glass or the nail, or you might know some other special knot. As long as you can ensure that it stays there and knots it properly, you're sweet. And you don't have to use this poly. This is shit rope, but it happens to be strong when it's like this. Other ropes are strong enough still too. So, especially hemp. And yeah, like I said, half would be glass, the other half could constitute of really sharpened, so you sharpen the nail, sharp bent nails. You'd have to sharpen them so they're razor sharp. The other half, you could, on some razor blades you can tuck it in and tie it. You just got to make sure when you do that, you don't actually tie it onto the razor blade. You've got to get it on the part that's not sharp, so it stays. And so, yeah, like I said, this half could constitute of glass, and the other half constitutes of bent nails, bent sharp nails, razor blades. And if you can find the frame of an aluminium window, the simple fly frames, take that off, destroy the fly part, get the aluminium, you've just got to keep on bending and it snaps. Somehow get them into short pieces. When you sharpen that type of aluminium, like really sharpen it and get it into shards, scrape it as much as you need, oh my god, they're strong. And then you can, so like I said, half is that glass that I was talking about, and the other half constitutes of a mixture. It's like a composite half. It's a mixture of those bent nails that I just spoke about, razor blades, and aluminium shards. You've got to make sure most of them are bent except for the razor blades. You just leave the razor blade as is, and all of a sudden it will look like a whole fucking collection of shit. You'll have about 50 or 60 things on it. But let me tell you, when this hits the hand from that floppy motion with this strength tube, and it gets complete grip, as soon as you rip it off, oh fuck, So that's what I mean about being an active participant. Note how I didn't make it all. I don't want to. I really, it's not an appetizing thing. Having that sort of stuff. But this is for the average bloke, the average Australian. So when, or the average person watching this, at least, because it is the internet, and it isn't just this series, it isn't at all specific just for Australians, it's for anybody. But this is really, that knowledge is for the average person protecting their family in a defensive capacity from some dickhead, trying to take advantage of people in a very bad situation, whether it's societal breakdown, the war, all that world-ending shit that we see, which could happen because nuclear war could happen and society could break down. It actually could happen. So that's how to make a flagrant. And as I said, I just want you to know that nothing like that should ever be made except for those circumstances that I explained.